Y'all, 2025 was a banger year. I mean, look at all these books. We're not going to talk about every single one, but I figured let's go over my bottom three and my top three. And listen, we all love our bottoms, okay? But we're really here for the tops. But let's get the bottoms out of the way first, all right? So, before I go on, I am an Asian gay man who loves to read sci-fi and mostly fantasy, actually. I dabble in some books, other genres, romance to historical fiction. I like to dabble, but I usually just go off vibes. In 2025, sci-fi was, well, not sci-fi, fantasy was the big one. So, and I'm new at reading. I just started in 2025. And I'm just discovering myself. And right now, so far, a lot of these books are fantasy. And I think that's fine. Anyway, let's talk about the first of the bottom three. And none of them are in a particular order. Okay. And we before we get into the books I really did enjoy, let me just say these are not bad books. They're just not for me. I want to really really stress that point. They're not bad books. They're just not for me. First one, Piranesi. Listen, everyone but me. I'm like the only person on this planet that honestly hated this book. It's not a bad book. The problem with Piranesi, I can't even tell you what this book's about. That's part of the problem. I cannot describe it to you. I can't. It's very difficult to do so. That was part of the problem. I've discovered about myself is I don't want to read a book that's overly obtuse, vague and just kind of confusing. Like not a lot of things are explained. That's gonna bother me. Okay, if you're okay with that, with stories being kind of nebulous, maybe this is for you. But nothing's really explained. There's no real character development, in my opinion. The story was weird. I didn't like her prose. There's a bunch of stuff. I just did enjoy this book. Is it a bad book? No, it's definitely not for me. The second book, listen, this author has a very deep fan base. So please don't come after me. And I'm very well aware that I'm the only person on planet Earth that really didn't like 11/22/63. Listen, I don't think this is a bad book. Okay? I just want to, it's just not for me. A white man goes back in time to stop JFK's assassination and thus save the world. Okay? It sounds interesting, but there's a lot of baggage that I will not get into. This book makes me very angry every time I think about it. First of all, it's not just about that. There's a very heavy romance subplot that I did not expect. It was okay. It was fine. I also thought this book was way too long. Like, it just dragged for me. I was like, oh God. It just keeps going and going and going. So I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to make the Stephen King fans more angry. It's my first Stephen King novel, by the way. I had certain expectations that were not met. That I thought, hey, this was more sci-fi, maybe horror. It was not. At least my opinion wasn't. I do have The Stand in my TBR. So I'm still thinking about reading that. And The Shining. But this was technically my first Stephen King, and I did not enjoy it. There's just too much about it that I didn't like. Again, not a bad book. It's just not for me. And I don't want to go into detail because it's just going to get me madder because this book just made me mad. Like, ugh. Moving on to the final bottom. So Joe Abercrombie also has a ton of fans, and I decided to try to, you know, dive into Abercrombie. The Blade itself was a tough read. I struggled through this. Again, not a bad book because everyone loves it. I wasn't for me. Part of the problem, you asked me, hey, what's this book about? It's kind of like Piranesi. I can't tell you. I don't know. There wasn't really a big meaty plot that I can tell. There's not a lot happens in this book. That was part of my problem. And the main issue that I had with this book, and it might be because it was his first book, I don't know, but his prose, and I'm a big prose guy, big gigantic prose guy. It felt very like staccato. It was not rhythmic. It felt very choppy and not rhythmic at all. Like staccato. Like it just, like, you know how you read some authors and it flows really well and you're just jiving with it and it just, in pages the prose is so good and you jive with it, you vibe with it, and it's just like music. The prose in this book, it was like a bumpy road. I'm riding in this car with really shitty like shock absorbers and really bad tires, and it was a bumpy road. Again, it's not for me. Some people really love his prose. I know a book friend of mine loves his prose and loves the series. I don't know. I want to try, but if this is like how his other books are, I don't think I can vibe with Joe Abercrombie. Okay, listen. We love our bottoms, but let's be real. We're really here for the tops, okay? So let's talk about my top 3. Honorable mentions real quick. The Scythe series. Whew. Real quick. Premise. Humanity in the future, dystopian by the way, humanity in the future conquers death. Okay, but listen, if no one dies and they can just reset their age, I mean, what's going to happen with the population? Well, we have an organization called the Scythedom, and they get to choose who dies. They cull the population. Listen, there's a lot of problems with the premise. I mean, who in the right mind would give any person carte blanche on who gets to live and die? It is silly. And the problems with that foundation, aside from that, because it's silly. Aside from that, these 3 books were fire. Like, oh God, like the writing style. I mean, I was hooked. There's very little like low moments here. It was just a constant banger of just things happening and just, it's hard to describe. Just know that, if the premise sounds interesting, just know that it gets better. It gets much more interesting. The characters are interesting, and there are just some twists and turns that you won't see. And the end, by the way, I'm a big proponent of sticking the landing. The book might be okay throughout, but then if it sticks the landing, it might just be worth it. This one sticks the landing hard, and I teared up a little bit. Okay. Other worthy mention, Red Rising. Listen, I love Red Rising. Real quick summary. Our protagonist, Darrow, is born in the lowest caste system. Lowest one, the Reds. Okay. He gets recruited by the rebellion to infiltrate the highest caste, the Golds. Okay? That's all I'll say. Shit goes down. I mean, it was the first half of the book, absolute fire. I mean, I just kept reading and reading. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever read. Then at the halfway point, and again, this is just my opinion, kind of fell apart for me because it became, small spoiler, more like Hunger Games ish. I did not expect that, and I'm not a fan of that type of. Yeah, I wasn't a fan. The book was still great though. Still recommend it. Top three, coming in at three. Top three was Strength of the Few. This was close between two and three, but listen, Will of the Many was an awesome book. Okay. I'm not going to go into detail what it is, Google it, but it's a very popular book talk, booktube book. Okay. I loved it. It's one of my favorites. The problem I had with Will of the Many was the very end. It got confusing AF. Confusing. And it lost me. Remember I said about sticking the landing? I don't think it stuck the landing because I finished the book and I was like, what? Now, book two, there are some jaw-dropping moments. Of course, Islington's prose is my favorite. He writes beautifully, beautifully. And there's so much going on. Now, some people have criticized it, small spoiler, of it's sort of taking place in several different places. I understand why people think that's a little confusing. I get it. That may not be for you. I thought it was fascinating. Fascinating. That's all I'll say. Okay. And at the end, again, sticking the landing. This book, what Strength of the Few does better than Will of the Many is answer your questions. It not only answers your questions from the first book, it also gives you a little bit more mystery to look forward to. I know some people hated that. It's like, you gave me more stuff. Like, I love it. I love a good mystery. Listen, you can give me the mystery, but make sure you answer some of my questions, okay? Don't keep piling on without, it's like you give me a plate of food, okay, let me finish, give me whatever, but don't keep giving more stuff without, answering my questions, essentially, okay? The next book, number 2. I said that I'm a big, sci-fi fantasy girly. This one is not any of those. All the Colors of the Dark was a shocker. Like, this is a historical fiction kind of thriller. This boy gets sort of kidnapped and he's found again. But as he's growing up, he's obsessed with the girl that he was kidnapped with. And it's his journey trying to find this girl and also find the perpetrator, the killer, that sort of thing. So that's where the thriller mystery comes in. Boy, I mean, I was hooked every chapter. By the way, this one is interesting because every chapter is like 2 pages. I have a very short attention span. So if your chapter is like 80,000 pages, I'm going to be so mad because I read sporadically. I read throughout the day and it's like 5 to 10 minutes. That is basically, I just pick up my e-reader for like 5-10 minutes, put it down, come back. I'm just that person because my attention span is just, right? So if your chapter is like, I don't know, 1 billion pages, I'm going to be so mad. This one is like 1 to 2. It's there's 1 billion chapters, but they're all like 2-3 pages. Like, it's amazing. I loved it. It kept my attention. That's what I loved. I loved it. Also, the author Whitaker, like, I think he's a millennial because there is a lot of vibes he's taken from movies in the 1990s. There's some Forrest Gump in there. There's Shawshank Redemption. That sort of thing is like, girl, like, we all know where you got this from. Okay, he takes a bunch of these things from these famous movies back in the 90s and puts it all together. That's the only real problem I had with it. But to be fair, it sort of worked. It sort of worked. And again, stuck the landing. What an amazing end. What an amazing end. Highly recommend. Like I said, I don't do normally historical fiction, but this one was a banger. It was so good. We come now to number one, Bay. Just pure fire. Bury me with this book. If this was a drug, I need it through my veins. It was just that good. Sheer perfection. And I know, listen, some of y'all hate this book, okay? But Blood Over Brighthaven, perfection. Again, just my opinion. Sheer perfection. Like the characters, the character development, the actual plot in itself. Siona is the first woman to be inducted into this magic organization. Very sexist, okay? And it's basically her journey, discovering herself, her journey to being the first woman, but the problems that exist in that particular society, the sexism, the racism, and this kind of goes to what people sort of hated about this book. It's very political and very like, what's the word for it? Finger wagging, like losing my train of thought here. Listen, I understand if you preachy. I understand if you think it was preachy, but listen, if it was very preachy to you, I would invite you to ask why it made you uncomfortable. Because for me, I didn't see it as preachy. I was like, yes, you're speaking to my soul. Like, I was raised in a very religious household. I'm a gay man, gay Asian man, and that does not mix. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? That does not mix. I had many problems growing up in the church, okay, being told certain things. And so when I read this book, I was like, yeah, I completely jive with you, ML Wang. Completely understand. I get it. It spoke to me and like, yeah, I totally understand and totally agree. Yep. And listen, if you are a straight white male, I don't know. Just go into it knowing that ML Wang or Wang is not kind to you, in my opinion. I think she really just, white men in general, there isn't a single white male in this book that is portrayed well. I'm just saying. So, yeah, that's just, yeah, I just want to give you fair warning, okay? But yeah, sheer perfection. And the other thing too is, again, sticking the landing, the things that happened to her at the end, the way the book ends with Siona and her love interest, it was perfect. That's all I'll tell you. It was just, the romance was not too, it's not like a sexy romantasy. It felt adult. It felt real, not forced. I felt it was earned, and it was tragic. This whole book was tragic. It's tragic, and it was sheer perfection. Anyway, if you like this content, I'm just starting off, by the way. This is technically my first video. Yeah, leave a like, maybe subscribe. But thank you for joining me in my review of the books of 2025.